buckle up for this incredible video. Progressions. Oh my God. Oh. Progress charts, progress signs, progress planets. One of the most important and valuable tools in astrology. It's just shell-shocking. It's so deep. It's so real. We are mining for gold in this video. Okay, are you guys ready? Today, I'm going to take you into this absolutely incredible astrological world, and I'm going to give you a tool for your astrological toolbox to really help you expand your mind, your knowledge, and be able to work with astrology in a whole new way. Welcome to my progressed chart series. I'm going to talk to you about progress charts, progress signs, progress planets. We're going to go into the deep of it. Now, in this video, this is a foundational video where I'm going to tell you what it is and how to look at the progress chart and what to look for in the progress chart. And in my series going forward, we'll talk about the sun progressing through the chart. We'll talk about the moon, and we'll talk about the different houses and the different signs. But for this video, this is your progressed charts 101 video in the series. So this is where you want to start. I cannot tell you how many people have bought their Astro Gold Package from me, and they write us back and they go, my birthday is wrong. No, your birthday's not wrong because your progressed birthday is not your birthday. And we're going to go into all the reasons why. So buckle up for this incredible video. You are going to have so many juicy bits of information that are just going to completely put your astrology knowledge into a whole new world. And I am so excited for this video and giving it all to you today. So let's dive in. The first thing I want to say is progress charts are one of the most important and valuable tools in astrology. I wouldn't even be able to do a thorough or a good reading if I didn't take at least a glance at what's going on in the progress chart. And I also want to tell you, they are my number one tool for predictions. Yes. So if you want to predict using astrology, if you want to make good predictions, accurate predictions, if you want to be able to see the future, if you want to be able to understand who am I preparing to be? What is the end of my life potentially going to look like? Who am I going to be, in 5 years' time? If you want to be able to see into your future, well, you have to study your progress chart. The main thing that progress charts do is they show you your soul's trajectory, your soul's development, and your emotional growth as a soul. And understanding these things, you comprehend how your life is evolving, how you are gleaning wisdom, what the potential energy for your journey looks like, and how your soul is actually growing. You can ask the deeper questions using your progress chart. Who am I? Why am I here? And those are profound philosophical and even psychological questions of life. And a lot of the times you can find the answers in the progress chart, or at least with the help of the progress chart. Astrology helps you get a little closer to finding those esoteric answers while still having it be in a shroud of mystery and wonderment. Now, the progress chart is used to show the evolution of your soul. And the evolution of your soul is gradual. The progress chart, I think, is much deeper than a transit chart or a transit biwheel chart to your natal chart. Now, transit charts are very critical and very important, but I would say your progress chart is equally so, if not more. Progressions are so exciting because they show you, again, the entirety of your life. When you work with your progressions, you get to see the theme of all of your years on Earth. And I'm going to give you a tool here. Progressions don't stay stagnant. Your natal chart is a stagnant, static picture of the universe at the time you were born. Your progress chart moves, and it moves in alignment with the growth of your soul. So progressions literally allow you to see your life unfolding, literally how your soul progresses on Earth. I'm going to teach you the system that I use for progressions, okay? It is called a day for a year method. So that's what I use. And I'm an evolutionary modern astrologer. I use Placidus and I use the tropical zodiac. I use a day for a year progressions. I'm going to share my techniques with you in this video and in my whole series. This is my Bible. Okay, and it is weathered. It is barely alive. I've had to tape the binding, but this is the ephemeris, and I will link this in my notes below, and you can go get your own ephemeris. And if you really, really, really want to understand astrology, I highly recommend you get an ephemeris. Now, this one is from 1900 to 2000. So anybody born after 2000, make sure you get an ephemeris that goes to 2050 or 2100. 2100. I will link my Amazon store where you can get all of the astrology books that I most recommend. And they do have an ephemeris. I believe they have one ephemeris that goes from 1900 to 2100, or you'll have to buy two. I bought two. Because I was born in 1966, this book works out fairly well for me, but I'll have to see I'll have to see, like my daughter was born in 2006, so I would have to use this book for her, okay? So I'm just gonna be using the book that fits for my life to show you how I use this as a tool. Now, even if you use an astrology software program, or you're a digital person and you want to use the ephemeris online, I still want to tell you that this book is invaluable. It is my Bible. The reason why is because you can mark up your book and you can see your life in the book in a way that's really hard to see on the screen. And I'll go into it. I'll tell you why. But you can click on the link below in the notes, and it will take you to my Amazon store, and just go into Meredith's astrology books and you can purchase your ephemeris there. And everybody who went to my workshop, I'm like, you have to have an ephemeris. We do deep astrology here. We go way beyond sun sign astrology. When you use the day for a year method of progressions, every day after you are born, and the planetary lineup of that day represents the next year of your life. So the first 7 days after you were born, so the first 7 days after the date of your birthday, reflect the first 7 years of your life. And it is absolutely uncanny. It is astrological brilliance at its best at how accurate this is. Why, I don't know, but the astrology gods and the gods above all got together. They created this methodology, and I'm telling you, it's shell-shocking. It works. And we're going to go into how to make predictions, but that's probably going to be in a later video or maybe at the end of this video. So stay tuned. Keep listening. You're going to learn so much. So let me give you an example. If you wanted to look at what your life would look like at 19 years old, right? You would count 19 days after your birthday, and you would look at the planets and the planetary lineup on that day to see what your progressed natal chart looks like. And you would create an individual chart on that day, on that 19th year, to see your progressed natal chart and to read that progressed natal chart individually and secondarily as a biwheel. We'll get back into that in a second. So I want to show you. So I'm going to use my aspect finder as a ledger. And if you guys don't have your aspect finder, you should get one, and you can get this in my shop at Shop Soul Navigation. So I'm going to go to 1966. That is the year that I was born. I'm going to go to my birthday, and I'm going to see my planetary lineup. And now, do you know what I'm going to do? I am going to count down to 100 days. So I'm going to count all the way down. And I'm even going to have to go into January. So I was born on December 7th. So I have to go to about March 12th-ish, because there's 31 days in some months and there's 28 days in February. I want to count 100 days, and it's around March 12th. And that shows me the entire picture of my life if I live to 100 years old. And the reason why I like this ephemeris, this book, rather than online, I'll tell you. Because in January, I was born with planets that were retrograde. With your natal chart, here's a pro tip for you, okay? So listen. This is so important. I was born with planets retrograde, and I want to see those planets are never going to go direct in my natal chart because it's a stagnant, static chart. But in my progressed chart, there is maybe a chance that my retrograde planets are going to go direct. And they might go direct in the 100 days after I was born, which is the 100 years of my life, right? So I'm going to look, because my Jupiter was retrograde, and I'm going to also be able to see if any of my direct planets, like my Venus, my Mercury, my Saturn, go retrograde. And those are cataclysmic years. Those are years when the planets, by progression, change its direction, I need to mark those years down. And if they've already happened, I need to really take inventory on what happened on those years, those days after I was born in my progress chart. Did those planets go direct? Oh my God. Oh, are you guys getting this? Are you guys getting this? If not, go back and re-listen to what I just said, because that is the number one most important thing when it comes to, or I should say, most important tool when it comes to using progressions as a timing technique. Okay, so let's just look and see. So my Jupiter in the 100 days, it goes retrograde and it stays retrograde. And even if I get to 100, I have to get to about 120 years old before it will go direct in my progress chart. But look at what happens. And this is why I want you guys to have the ephemeris. Look at what happens. So that Jupiter stays in its sign of Leo until January 17th. So I have to count from my birthday, December 7th, to January 17th to figure out how old I am when that Jupiter, it doesn't go direct, but it changes signs. Yeah. So we have to figure out, how old am I going to be when that happens? What year is that? And you want to know what happened when Jupiter, oh my gosh, I'm dying. When Jupiter changed signs, right? It was 41 days after I was born. What happened around my 41st birthday? What happened around, give or take? You know, it could be a year earlier, a year after, because in progressions, themes are building up and they move slowly. So I don't want you to think about them just smack on days, because especially when you're dealing with planets like Jupiter or Saturn, because these are really big changes of expression. When Jupiter moved into Cancer at around 41 years old, I became a mother. So I'm telling you, the timing techniques on this are absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable. I was 40 and a half years old when I gave birth. And so on my 41st birthday, I had a 6-month-old. So I was a brand new mom. Oh gosh, you guys, these progressions are just so powerful. I want you to get your ephemeris because you can't see the trends on the screen. And I also want you to highlight your important changes and shifts. Okay, so I also want to tell you that with your ephemeris, another thing that you can do is you can see if in your progressions, planets that are direct in your natal chart go retrograde in your progress chart. And that is huge. So you're going to look on here and you're going to see if any of your planets go retrograde. And when they do, it is very, very profound and powerful. You will see that when those planets turn around by progression, it can literally turn around your whole life. So, for example, I was born with Uranus direct. And you can see that it's direct in the little column. You can see that it's direct, and then it gets shaded in when it goes in the other direction, when it goes retrograde. And I can count down from the day I was born, I can count down how many days that was. And that was 23 days after I was born, Uranus went retrograde. And so that means when I was 23 years old, Uranus went retrograde. So what happened in 1989 when I was 23 years old? Two amazing things happened, not one, but two. First, I graduated from college and I felt the wings on my back leaving Tucson, Arizona, down there at the border of Mexico. My mom helped me buy my first suit. She helped me put my resume together. And guess what I did? I flew to New York City and I got myself a fabulous job in New York City. And I walked around looking at skyscrapers in the heartbeat of the world in New York City in 1989. Having left Arizona culture and lifestyle, can you even imagine? And I wore a hot pink coat. And I got 3 job offers, 2 in advertising and 1 in book publishing. And I became the manager of Clifford, the Big Red Dog at Scholastic Publishing when Uranus went retrograde. It literally flipped my life and flipped my world on its head. And I managed Clifford, the Big Red Dog. My life just soared. And that was my very first job out of college. It was a phenomenal job. I worked in the marketing department. I don't know if you guys know Clifford the Big Red Dog, but he was adorable and he was super fun to manage. And it was a big time job, which then led me to another absolutely incredible opportunity within Scholastic Publishing. It just catapulted me and launched me into confidence, into a big life, a big world, big living, and a dream job. Progressions. Look at your progressed chart. And I want you guys to work with your ephemeris and go through all of your planets and see when they changed, not just signs, but see when they changed into direct motion or retrograde motion, and look at the first 100 days. So you start with, if you're born on the 10th of a month, 10th of July, well, then the 11th is your first year. So you're born, and that first year is 0 to 1 years old. And then July 11th, and the planetary alignment for July 11th shows us when you turn 1 year old, okay? Let's talk about a few other pro tips that I want to give you. And then what I'm going to do in this series is I'm going to go through the meaning of the planets and meaning of the shifts. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of juicy fruit. And I want you to be able to do this on your own without having to have a software program. And if you're born after 2000, which some of you are, and I really love that I have young followers. I absolutely love it. If I would have learned this stuff at 16 years old, wow, the helpfulness it would have given me. You only need, and you can Xerox or you can make a copy of the first 100 days after, so you can mark it up and you can change and use your colored pencils to circle all the changes that happen. If you don't want to do any of that, or in addition to that, you can always go to Shop Soul Navigation and you can buy your Advanced Astro Gold Package. And the reason why that package is so cool is because I give you your progressed chart, and then I also give you your progressed report, and you also get your chart rulers report, understanding your unique chart rulers. And the unique chart rulers report is so good because it talks to you about the rulers of each of your houses, and it's just imperative. So if you want to go deep, you can get that package. It's worth every single penny. And it is though your progressed chart for today. So whatever day we fulfill it is the day that we are progressing your chart to. So if you're 47 and a quarter years old, well, that's what you would be looking at. So I like the ephemeris because I like for you to document the history and the evolution of your entire soul, going backwards and going forwards. And I'm going to show you more in my videos how we are going to use this book. I have been wanting to do this video series for so long. I just felt like a lot of people would find it to be too hard. But now that you've been with me for 4 years, learning with me, I feel like you might be ready. You are going to notice a couple things. Here's a pro tip for you. The faster moving planets, which is Mercury, the moon, and the sun, those are going to change signs, and those are going to change houses, most likely. We have to talk about the moon, and I'm going to do an entire progressed moon series coming up. But right now, what I want to tell you is that the moon moves the quickest in the progressed chart. The sun, because we're doing a day for a year, right? The sun moves 1 degree per year of your life. So we'll get into the math around that in a minute, but let me talk to you about the moon first. So the moon is the fastest moving luminary or planetary body in the progressed chart. And I will also say, because of that, it is the most powerful. It is the most powerfully predictable tool to use, or prediction tool to use, I should say. And it is the most useful. It's the highest functioning tool in your astrological toolbox using the progressed chart. So it moves about 1.09 degrees per month. So just a tad over a degree. And it takes about 2.5 years. It's actually 2.3, but we'll just round it up, 2.5 years for the progressed moon to move through a whole zodiac sign and to move into the next sign. If you have a progressed Scorpio moon that is changing to Sagittarius on, let's say, January 1st, you know that the moon by progression stays in a sign. It moves through the whole sign, 1 degree, 9 minutes per month. So it takes about 2.5 years to move through that whole sign. So then you know that in 2.5 years, it's going to switch from Sagittarius to Capricorn. And then 2.5 years later, it's going to switch from Capricorn into Aquarius. And so you can kind of do your math, or you can look at your ephemeris, or you can get the Advanced Astro Gold Package, or you can just even get your progressed chart. If you just want the chart alone. But in the Advanced Astro Gold Package, we give you the report that goes along with it, along with the other report. If you think about that, it takes about 27.5 years for it to go all the way through all 12 signs. It gets back to, you ready? This is advanced. This is for advanced learners. It gets back to its original position in about 27.5 years. Now, your progressed sun takes about 30 years in order for it to change signs, because it moves 1 degree per year, and it will only go through 2 to 3 signs, maybe 4 if you live a long, long life, and if you were born at like one of the last degrees of your sun sign. The progressed moon creates a return to its original sign faster than any other planet, faster than Mercury, faster than any other planet. And that is why it is so useful, because if you live to 27.5 years, which in the United States and in Western civilization, most people do, you're going to experience the moon traveling through all 12 signs. And so you will experience the feeling of all 12 signs. And with the sun, you're probably, if you're born on a 0 degree and you live to 90, you're only going to experience your sun moving through 3 signs, the next 2 signs consecutively. That's why the moon is really, really powerful in progressions. And you could go through your ephemeris and you could figure out what those days are. Now, don't be a stickler on the exact time, like at 1:42, my moon progresses from Scorpio to Sagittarius, because progressions take a lot longer to seep into the cellular body. Let's talk about Mercury. Mercury is very interesting because it moves at a similar rate as the sun, about 1 degree per year, but its movement is crazy because 4 times a year, about 30% of the year, Mercury is retrograde. It's pretty likely that if you were born with a direct Mercury direct, not Mercury in retrograde, you really got to go check, because it's pretty likely that a lot of you will have a Mercury in retrograde by progression at some point in your life. So Mercury is very interesting. We can't count on it like we can literally do the math for the sun. I mean, you can do the math in your head for the sun because you know it moves 1 degree per year of your life. So with Mercury, you can't know that because it goes retrograde all the time. And so it's really inconsistent. And so you'll be lucky if Mercury moves through 4 signs in your progressed chart. And even though Mercury is a pretty fast-moving planet, because of those retrogrades in the progressed chart, it's just not going to move that far. Now let's talk about Venus. Venus also is on the same similar trajectory as the sun, but it is also inconsistent because it goes retrograde about, once every 18 months. And so if you're born really close to that 18 months, it's going to be retrograde in your progressed chart. Is this not fascinating? And I promise you, the day or the week or the month or the 6 months before that Venus goes retrograde inside your progressed chart, your whole life will change around Venus things, just like we looked at Uranus going retrograde in my chart. Now, Mars moves pretty slowly, and your Mars may not even change. Like, I'm going to have Mars in the same sign for my whole life. Well, in truth, I shouldn't say my whole life, but for almost all of my life. It depends how long I live. But it really doesn't change signs until way, way late in my life. And that's because I was born with a really early degree on my Mars sign. So go take a look and see when and if your Mars changes signs. Now, if you were born with a Mars retrograde, go and check and see what day, or what year I should say. Check and see what day, which equals the year, that it goes direct, and watch yourself feel free. Now, here's something really fascinating. Let's say you're born before Venus goes retrograde, right? And you didn't even know, and you just thought your whole life you're only working with your natal chart, you're only studying your natal chart, and you've never even looked at your progressions. And if you ever did look at your progressions, you only looked at your progressions for right this minute. You never looked at your progressions using an ephemeris. And let's say Venus goes retrograde 2 days after you were born. Well, that's the second year after you were born. Guess what? It stays retrograde for 6 weeks, sometimes 6.5 weeks. What does that mean? What's 6 times 7? 42. That means, are you with me? Are you with me? Are you guys doing the math? That means from 2 years old till 42 years later, which is 44 years old, you're living with a Venus in retrograde. By progression. By progression. Are you guys like, am I blowing your mind yet? And you never knew, and you've been walking around going, what's wrong? Why am I not really a Venus in Leo? And why am I so quiet and shy? And why don't I like Vegas or sparkles? And why don't I like karaoke parties? And why don't I like to be the center of the spotlight? And damn it, this astrology is telling me I'm a Venus in Leo. I'm supposed to be the star of the show. And I don't even feel that. I can't even relate. Well, let's go look at your progressions, girl. It's so fun, isn't it? It's so exciting. Look at your progressions and see if Mars went retrograde in your lifetime and you just never knew it. Now, Jupiter and Saturn are worth looking at, but they're not going to move very much at all. As a matter of fact, Jupiter is going to move 1 degree every 12 years. So is it really going to shift? No. But let me give you the pro tip. And this is so important to know. If Jupiter is at the tail end of a sign, so if your Jupiter is like 28 degrees or 27 degrees, or if you have Jupiter on the cusp of a house, literally smack dab on the cusp of a house, like 1 degree away, what's going to happen is, and you're going to use your ephemeris to figure out, when, what's going to happen is it's going to take 12 years for it to move a degree. But when it moves into the next house by degree, you'll feel it. So let's say your Jupiter is in the 4th house at the tail end, and it's on the cusp of the 5th house. And in 24 years, it moves 2 degrees, and then Jupiter goes into the 5th house. Oh my God, the angels are singing. Now you have a Jupiter in the 5th house, and your whole world has changed massively. Progressions are dynamite days. They're heavyweights. They are enormous. Have you ever met somebody who was just sort of a shit show their whole life, and then one day they just learned how to forgive, and they became kind, and they got sober, and they're a totally different person? Yeah, go look at their progressions and go look at their Jupiter progressions and see what happened. Also, if your Jupiter just is creeping up closer to an angle, the midhaven, the ascendant, the descendant, or the IC, and if it's creeping up to an angle, that's also really, really impactful. So not very many people will have this happen. But the other thing that can happen is if Jupiter does change signs. So if you have an outer planet that actually changes signs by progression, this is like plate tectonics. This is like one continent. This is like Australia breaking away from the continent it originally came from. I mean, this is so profound and so powerful. This is the number one timing technique that you guys can use. Go look at the year. And if something catastrophic happened the year prior or the year after, or even 2 years later, it is this progression. It takes time for progressions to plant their roots, but it is a stick of dynamite, especially those outer planets, if they're going to shift signs. I'm never going to have an outer planet shift signs. And as a matter of fact, I even have planets at the very late degrees, and they're still not going to shift signs because they go retrograde. You might be born, like I have a 28 degree outer planet. It's never going to get to the next sign because it goes retrograde, and it stays retrograde for too long, and it moves too slowly. So Saturn takes about 18 years for it to go 1 degree. And so if it gets caught up in a retrograde, right, it'll never go to the next degree. And so it might just live solidly in one sign with those retrogrades. Now you have to realize that Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune, they live half of their lives in retrograde motion. They do. So they only spend 6 months direct and 6 months retrograde. So it's very, very likely that you could experience a lot of retrogrades inside your progressed chart that you had no idea about. I know. We are mining for gold in this video. I mean, literally, I'm teaching you how to excavate for the gold. And you can feel like, wow, I get me. I so get me. I just have to tell this really quick story. I have to tell this really quick story. So my husband has only known me for 6 years, which is really funny. And we were at Mother's Day, right? I have my niece there who's 23, and I have my nephew who's there at 21 years old, and my daughter's almost 18. And then I have my mama there who's known me my whole life, 57 years. And then I have my stepdad there who's known me for 47 years. And then my husband, well, he's known me for the shortest amount of time. And he's known me for 6 years, going on 7. In truth, he's really only known me as a confident person. He's never seen me when I was in those insecure years or when I was shy and quiet. Like, he can't even imagine. As a matter of fact, neither can my daughter or my niece or my nephew. But it is true. My parents do remember those times. And so at Mother's Day, I asked my mom the question, just for the benefit of the others. Mom, do you remember when I was really shy and kind of like insecure and I just didn't know what I was good at, and I lived in kind of a self-doubt, and I don't know, I was nervous to speak up and talk? And she goes, yes, I remember those years. And I said, wouldn't you even say you could see a fragility in me? And she goes, absolutely. And then I asked my stepdad, would you say when I was little or younger, he met me when I was 10, that you could see a fragility in me? And he was like, absolutely, Mary, absolutely. And everybody there was just like, what? We see you as so strong. And I'm like, no, I grew that strength. I wasn't born that way. I was not born that way. I wasn't born into all, the pop rocks, the big bam, bang, boom. No, I grew that. And I grew that confidence, like authentically, kind of the hard way over time. It was a slow build. I just said that because I wanted my daughter to know. I wanted them to all know. I wasn't born confident. I grew my confidence. And my progressed chart helped me grow it, helped me find it. And I can see when the shifts happened. And when that Uranus switched directions, it doesn't matter that it went retrograde. It turned things upside down and inside out. If I just want to talk about Uranus in retrograde, it made me get really, really real with being in alignment with oppression. I felt really stifled and sheltered and quite oppressed, if you will, living in the Arizona desert. I just wasn't with my soul tribe. It wasn't big enough. It wasn't interesting enough for me anymore. And I needed the biggest place in the world. And for me, that was New York City. That's what Uranus did when it changed directions. And so I just want you to know that if the vibration of your life has shifted or changed, it could show up for you. The story or the theme can really show up for you inside that progressed chart. Okay, let's go in and talk a little bit more. So I just really want you to look at if Neptune changes houses in your progressed chart or changes signs. When I say if Neptune changes houses, I mean it in 2 different ways. Okay, so this is really advanced, okay? There's 2 ways to use the progressed chart. One is a standalone natal chart. So you're just going to look at your progressed chart, and if Neptune changes signs, that's one way to look at it. That's very rare. I mean, that's super, super rare. I mean, you'd have to be born at the tail end, and it wouldn't be able to be going into retrograde. But let's say Saturn changes signs. That's a pretty big deal. But let's also say in the static progressed chart, just the wheel, if it changes houses, that's also a really big deal. Now, here is the pro tip. I really want you guys to get this. And you can purchase this in my shop. Just go look at all my biwheels. We sell every kind of biwheel there is, and I recommend you get one. And I recommend you get mine because mine are gorgeous and easy to read, and it's a great way to support my staff. That's actually how I pay for my staff. So I'm very grateful for anybody who buys any product from me. Anyways, you can use it in a biwheel. So you would put your natal chart in the middle, and you would wrap your progressed chart around your natal chart. So now you can see where your progressed sun falls, right? Let's say you're born with a 4th house sun. You've got your natal chart with your 4th house sun, right? And you've wrapped your progressed chart around in a biwheel. And let's say your sun has moved 2 signs now. Well, now when we wrap it around, you'll see your progressed sun. So your natal sun is in the 4th house. Now your progressed sun is in the 6th house. It's in your natal chart's 6th house. I'll say it again. Your progressed sun, if it's moved 2 signs, and if your sun is in the 4th house, you just count over, you'll see it. It will fall now in your 6th house. And now you are experiencing 6th house themes. So one of the ways that we look at a progressed chart is we look at it in a biwheel, so we can now see, based on our natal chart, where the sun has moved to based on our natal chart. I know I said that twice, but I really want you guys to get it. There's cataclysmic shifts that are very notable when the sun or the planets change houses in a biwheel. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to take a look at the progressed chart just on its own, not in a biwheel at first, because your rising sign will change as well. And I like to check out the progressed rising sign. Why? So there's couple videos that you need to watch to go along with this. One is because now you have a new chart ruler. And I have a video on chart rulers and the importance of chart rulers. And that means a whole new planet is running your show. And if you don't know what chart rulers are, you've got to go watch that video I did for free. You can watch that video. You'll feel that shift. For a long time, I had the sun as the ruler of my chart. Well, now I have Mercury. And look at, now I'm in the communication business, right? So it's very, very interesting how that works. And our personality shifts. Our personality kind of changes. Our approach to life changes. We are looked at a little bit differently. The progressed rising sign is really critical. What's interesting about that is when you put, this is really advanced. I'm feeling like maybe I should teach a whole workshop on this. And you guys let me know if you'd like a masterclass on this. This could be my next masterclass because it's a lot and we could go through your own. But now let's say your progressed rising sign is at a degree that you have another planet in your chart, probably something in the 1st or 2nd house. It's probably what it's going to be. And that progressed rising sign is conjunct one of your planets. Now what you look like and how you act and how you approach is infused by that planet in your natal chart that your progressed rising sign is conjunct, right? For example, I'll just give you an example. My progressed ascendant sits on my natal Pluto. That has nothing to do with my original rising sign. Like that is the antithesis of. I am kind of intense and Plutonian-like. And here I am communicating in sort of a Plutonian psychological transformative way, or at least I hope so, right? It is so interesting how you can take on a new persona based on not only your new rising sign, but what aspects your rising sign make by conjunction to the planets in your natal chart. Oh my God, rewind that and watch what I just said again, because it's just shell-shocking. It's just shell-shocking. It's so deep. It's so real. The progressed ascendant it's going to be a little bit wobbly depending on what ascendant you have, but it moves between 1 and 2 degrees per year. Really taking a look at your progressed ascendant, you're not going to find that in the ephemeris. You're going to find that really only in a software program. That one's going to be too hard to calculate on your own. But what I want you to do is I want you to look at what your progressed rising sign is. And then I hope you guys have memorized your chart rulers. I want you to look at your new chart ruler and see what that chart ruler is doing in your progressed chart, of course. But when you make a biwheel, go look at that planet that is ruling your new ascendant and see if it is a big deal or no big deal in your biwheel, in relationship, in aspect to your natal chart. So if your progressed ruler is Mercury and your progressed Mercury is sitting on your natal sun in a conjunction, that's pretty big. That is a mind expansive time. It's very important to really understand the rulers of the different signs, the planetary rulers to the different signs, and see what those rulers are doing. So you have a couple homework assignments. I'm going to leave you with this. I want you to go get your ephemeris and really look at the times and dates when your planets have switched directions and what year that is in your life. And you're going to count a day for a year, okay? And then I want you to write those down in a journal or on a piece of paper and really journal, like what happened to you during those periods in time. Then I want you to look at where the moon is and when is the moon going to change signs, and really pay attention and write down all those changes. Write down the next 10 years of changes. Get ready for your next progressed moon sign change. So I just had mine, and I'll tell you, I had mine about a month ago, and I haven't yet felt the change, just to be very honest with you. So progressions are funny. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. It's not like on the day you feel it. And that's because it's an evolution. It's a growth. It's like seeing yourself grow at night when you're sleeping, right? You don't. My progressed moon sign changed, and I haven't quite felt the shift yet. But I do think I'm going to feel the shift in June. I want you to really pay attention to the moon's shifts. Then the third thing I want you to do is just go look in your ephemeris, and this is going to be really easy for you to do. Figure out, how old are you going to be? How old are you going to be, or were you, when your progressed sun changed signs? If you're born at let's say a 0 degree Taurus, well, it's going to take you 30 years before you're going to be a 0 degree Gemini. But if you're born at a 20 degree Taurus sun sign, in 10 years, because we know that each zodiac sign has 30 degrees. Well, in 10 years, when you're 10 years old, you're going to switch to a progressed Gemini sun. And then at 10 years old, you're a progressed Gemini sun. And we know that it takes about 30 years for the sun to progress to the next sign, because it's a day for a year. And so then we know 10 plus 30 is 40. You'll be 40 years old when it's Cancer, right? Are you guys getting this? And then at 0 degrees Cancer, you're 40 years old. Well, if you live another 30 years, 50, 60, 70, you'll progress to Leo, right? That's how you can kind of calculate the sun and when it moves. And you can also use your ephemeris. So I really want you to do that. And then if you want to get your Advanced Astro Gold Package, you could understand your progressions for this year, which are exciting. And then I want you to, of course, look at your natal chart and look at the degrees on your angles and your house cusps. And you should watch my house cusps video. If you have any of your progressed planets, and you can just look at the degrees in the ephemeris, it tells you what degree the planet is at. If your planets are crossing the ascendant, the descendant, the MC, or the IC, if they're crossing over, and you can see that in the ephemeris. So if those progressed planets are crossing the degrees of your ascendant, your descendant, your MC, or your IC, that is a huge cataclysmic theme in your life. That's a changing theme in your life. And those are very, very critical and important times in your life. And so if they're in front of you, you want to know. And if they're behind you, they make interesting research, and they help you understand or glean some takeaways on why you are the way you are. And then you're going to look at the retrogrades and the directs for all the planets. And the sun and the moon never go retrograde. When you order your Advanced Astro Gold Package, right? And if I was to order mine right now, it's not going to show up with my birthday. It's going to show up with a date in February, because I'm 57 years old. So it's going to show up how many years old you are. It will show up that many days later. So if you're 20 years old and you're born on the 1st, it's going to show up as the 20th. And so don't write us and say my birthday isn't right and you guys messed up and you need to redo my chart. No, we didn't. We did not mess up. And I have a whole explanation when you get the chart. I have a whole link. I'm like, if you think your birthday's wrong, watch the short video. And I did do a really short video on why your birthday's not wrong. And that's how you calculate it. So if you're 60 years old, it's going to be a whole different month. Right? It's going to be 2 months later. So this is a first little tidbit, and this is a foundational video for progressions. I also want to invite you guys. I can't be with you today because I am teaching my Seattle workshop, and I am so excited. I am on cloud 9, and it's going to be available after we edit it for everybody to purchase. I'm going to go deep into the wound, Chiron. I'm going to talk about that for a full day, and how to get the medicine out of the wound that never heals. And then I'm going to talk about all 360 degrees in the zodiac. Did you know that every single degree holds a meaning? So we're going to talk about every single degree, and then we're going to talk about your relationship to sexuality and intimacy in the chart. If you want to buy that bundle, just look for it. I have other really incredible workshops and retreats and masterclasses available for you in my shop. So go check them out at Shop Soul Navigation. Don't worry, you're not missing out if you couldn't come. Well, you are missing out, but you don't have to miss out on the lessons. You'll be able to buy them. And if you really do want to come and learn with me, on June 1st, I'm going to be putting my tickets for Barcelona, my retreat in Barcelona, which is coming up in October. You can check out all of the details and what I'm teaching at soulnavigation.com. But I'll just give you one little thing because it comes with a warning label. I am going to be teaching how to see death in the natal chart. So I won't be predicting death, but I will be showing you how you can see it. And that's in Barcelona, 2024 in October 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th, I believe. And it's going to be absolutely amazing. Only 35 people can come. It's really intimate. It's very deep, very transformative. But I also promised Dawn Wonder I would show off her necklace. I wasn't able to wear it today because I felt like I had a little bit too much of a party going on. But these are her new moon intention necklaces, and she made these for us specifically. And they are so gorgeous. They go with everything. Aren't these beautiful? Anyways, we have about 7 left. If you want to get your new moon intention necklace, just go to shopsoulnavigation.com. And if you want to get a reading, and if you just want to follow us everywhere, you can find us at soulnavigation.com, and it will lead you to our Instagram, Facebook, all of that jazz. Anyways, I hope you love the videos. Thank you for being a member. I'm going to be going live again soon, and I love using my members' charts. Also, I want to tell you, with this series, I'm going to put really good content in my members only video, behind the paywall. It only costs $2.99 to be a member. So come and be a member and get all of my videos. You get to come to my master classes for deep discounts, and you get to see all my behind the scenes videos. And I'm going to be doing one on the progressions, giving you deeper techniques in how you really can use the progress chart and the meaning of the planets, the meaning of those shifts and changes in a deeper way. But in this video, I at least wanted you guys to have a foundation piece. Sorry for all this jazz. I just wanted you guys to be in the loop, and I want you to know how much I appreciate you. And thank you for being here, and take good care. Until we see each other next time. Bye for now.